Welcome to Checks and Balances. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And this week we're joined by Ben Brinkerhoff of Concilium to talk about the secret problem.
So Ben, thank you very much for joining us again. The head of advice at Concilium, helping over 150 financial advice firms manage over $7 billion of assets. Ben just told me before that we're definitely his favourite firm. So Ben, I do appreciate that. We'll definitely invite you back. Now, Mike has alluded to a secret problem. And once again, Mike, I've told you before on this podcast, we're not talking about your personal problems. We're talking about the problems of the masses. And this is definitely not everybody's problem. But when you're in the financial advice world, a big thing we see, Ben, is people work so hard. They grind away, saving, squirreling away all their money, and then they get to the point where they need to spend it. And sometimes it's a little bit easier said than done.
Oh, yeah. And most people have some experience with this. What happens is they have worked hard, and they have a mentality of, I have to save. There's not enough. There's scarcity. There's not enough. I got to save. I got to put away. I got to make all those financially smart decisions. And ultimately, we end up working with people that often do that because those people are the ones that often seek after advice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you have a mentality that you don't save anything, at no point do you actually come and see a financial advisor, although that might be a smart thing to do. So we actually end up seeing a lot of people that are the saver mentality. I'm going to save, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to put it aside, and I'm going to be disciplined. And then they get to you, and you put together a plan, and then it comes time to spend the money, and they can't.
Yeah.
And I see this all the time where
I'm running through customers in my head.
yeah, we pay like with our investment portfolios, we'll set it up so on the first of the month we'll pay you X amount, maybe it's $2,000, maybe it's $5,000, whatever. And what I see over time when we're doing the reviews is that check account is just building up and building up and building up because while the investment is doing its job in terms of paying the money, the client's not doing their job of enjoying the money.
That's right. And I say it's a secret problem because we advertise we're going to help you not run out of money.
Yeah.
But do you ever have a client run out of money? I mean, of all the 150 advisors I work with, very, very few instances where someone's like on course to run out.
Yeah.
And the advisor will know they're on course to run out years and years in advance. And they can tell them, like, listen, you're going to run out. 5-10 years ahead of time, the advisor will know this is projecting the wrong way. And we'll intercede to have a corrective conversation. Sometimes the clients go, you know what, only live once, great, right?
YOLO.
But that is a very rare instance. What is common is leaving way more money to the next generation than they ever intended to.
Yeah.
On the idea of like, I might need it one day. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to I want to have a bit held back for caution purposes. Or actually, I've talked to people and they think, well, Ben, if I fly business class, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to think, I just paid $8,000 for this trip to Singapore, wherever it is, when if I had been back, it would have cost me $1,500. I can't get over the idea like I would feel bad to spend the money. I'd feel like that was waste because their whole life they train themselves on a set of values that say that's wasteful, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, fine, you don't have to fly business class, but your kids will.
Yeah.
Right? Your kids will fly business class, right?
And so I've been doing this for 10 years. I know you look at this youthful complexion, you go, how the hell is that possible? Just a good skincare routine, I can tell you. But I'm already starting to see that intergenerational piece come through and those values, sometimes, and that's great when they do go between generations and they value money the same way. A lot of the times they go, oh, geez, if they could see the way this money is being used, it would completely change the way they maybe thought about who they left it for, but also how they would have used it while they had it.
Yeah, you have to work with people to understand what money is truly spendable. See, what happens is we put all the money in one account, and we call it your investment account. And let's say there's $1 million in that investment account. But we know there's probably about 4 distinct needs that are all being lumped together in the investment account. One is, what do I actually need for the rest of my life, right? For my current spending projection. The second is, I want a bit of cash because money's going to come out every so often. I just don't want any threat to that cash flow. I'm depending on it. The third thing is, what do I want to leave to others? And the fourth thing is everything that's left over. You can give those buckets. There's the lifetime bucket. What am I going to need over my lifetime? There's a liquidity bucket of how am I going to make sure that I have cash to pay out into my regular spending over the next 2 years.
Yeah.
There is the legacy bucket. What do I want to leave for others? And then there's maybe the luxury bucket. What do I have that this money is a luxury, right? And they see it all in one account. They kind of get these things confused, like, oh, I need that money for my lifetime and to leave for my kids. Well, what happens if we actually just have 4 buckets? What if I said, okay, you actually, Bob and Mary, you need about $600,000 for the rest of your spending. You know what you want to spend, and I know what you want to spend, and I know that, and you know that we're just not going to convince you. If I drop another $5,000 a month into your bank account, it's just going to accumulate there, right? So why don't we just spend what you're going to spend? To do that, that's $600,000. You wanted to leave your kids $100,000 each, but that's in 20 years' time. Well, if I'm going to want to leave them $100,000 in 20 years' time, I probably only need about $40,000 or $50,000 now, and I just let that thing compound for 20 years, and that's going to be $100,000 each. You know that we're pulling out $4,000 a month in this account. Why don't we just buy 2 years of term deposits, 6-month maturities, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and that way even if markets go down, your regular spending, very, very secure.
Yeah.
Right? And after that, we can sell bonds, So, but Bob and Mary, after I've done all that, you still have $270,000 over here that is not allocated. Right? So why don't we have a conversation about that? Like, you can spend that money and not putting anything else at risk. You're not putting your lifestyle at risk. You're not putting your liquidity at risk. You're not putting your legacy at risk. This is extra money, right? And now they can think about not spending it month at a time, because their month at a time is already accounted for. This is for the extras of life. So you think business class, they think, oh, I can't spend business class. I only get $4,000 a month, and it's $8,000. That just seems extra. Well, you're not pulling that out of your That is coming out of the $270,000 that we don't know what to do with yet.
Yeah.
Right? That is the leftover money. Right? That it's a luxury, but I got money to pay for those.
Yeah.
And now I've dropped that account from $270,000 to $262,000. Do you really mind?
Yeah.
Right? And so you're like, and it's called mental accounting. That's what Dr. Richard Thaler calls it. And although it's mental accounting because it's all your money, you've bucketed it in a way like there's permission to spend this, right? You can buy the car, right? You can take the slightly nicer holiday. You can fund the things you might regret in life if you don't do them, right? We're not talking about what you spend every month. We've already accounted for that over here. And so using this kind of mental accounting and splitting the accounting. Now, each of those accounts might have their own asset allocation. Hey, the money we're going to spend over 20 years. We need to make that money. We're going to put that into 60% shares, 40% bonds, something like this. But the money over the $270,000, our job is to spend that money over 10 years' time. Because after 10 years, you're not going to have the health. Right? So the time horizon, that money's shorter. Therefore, we're not going to take as much risk with it. Right? Where the money for your kids, that's for 20 years' time. We can actually risk on that money. Because if you die within 20 years, there's going to be leftover money other places to fill in your desire for what you want to give. Right? So we're not going to. So we can like risk on that money. That might be 90% shares in that because we're just going. That's not going to get touched. So you can actually design a portfolio specific to these goals.
Yeah.
And then what happens is the clients can, every time you have a meeting with the client, you can say, this is the luxury. This money is a luxury to you.
Yeah.
You don't.
Spend it.
This is permission to spend money.
Yeah.
You have permission to spend. Oh, I couldn't. Yes, I'm going from 270 to 262. Is that okay with you? Right?
Yeah.
We already. Now, what happens if markets do go down? Right? Well, markets go down. I can just pull a little bit of money from my luxury account into my lifestyle account. Right? Hey, we're all square.
Yep.
Right? So really, it's them knowing, gee, I have a lot of flexibility in my financial affairs now, and that in combination with some good questions. People will get comfortable, and maybe a financial advisor having a good relationship with a travel agent.
Yeah.
They can get over that reluctance to spend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting the idea of the luxury account, and to your point that, say if you retire at 65, I once looked after a lady who was 90 and went to Samoa every year, but I don't see too many of those types of clients. Typically after 75, it gets pretty challenging to enjoy those things. So in that example with 270,000, you go, well, you got 10 years. You got 10 years to enjoy that money and decide on the things that you want to do. And splitting it out and putting it in that category, I really like that idea. And just to go on a slightly different tangent as well, Ben, on the idea of helping the kids and putting money aside for the kids and those sort of things. Say I live to 90 and then I die and my kids are 65 by then. They've already done all the hard work, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on doing things for the kids earlier before they pass away? And I had a conversation with a client just last week on this topic where I asked them about the kids' financial literacy and was talking to them, well, if you give them this money, how confident are you they're going to treat it in a way that you would be happy with how they treat it?
Those are such good questions. And I would say the majority of baby boomers, when you ask them, do you want to leave anything to your children within the assets of the portfolio, so not including your residential property or anything like that, oftentimes not.
Awesome.
I've taken care of them.
Yeah.
I've done right by them. Some people will instead say, I would really like to help the grandkids get through university. So they can come out of university debt-free, which is a really altruistic thing to do. Great, fantastic. Sometimes they'll say, I do have a charitable cause I'd like to support, but just in case I need the money, I don't want to surrender that quite yet.
Yeah.
So there's also, when you think about the legacy bucket, it's not simply I want to leave kids money when I die. It could be any of these sort of issues and causes and things you want to contribute to. Money going towards others, not for yourself, right?
Yeah.
Is what you can think about that. But I'm with you. The only one who is happy when you give money away when you die is the IRD. They love it, right? They love it. Because if you give that money to a charity when you die, they're like, sweet, no deduction, right?
Yeah.
You give that money away like a year before you die, at least you get to deduct something, right? So the IRDs, and there's a lot of joy in supporting the causes. There's certain people in life that give all of us a leg up, to pay that forward. There's a lot of joy in that for many people, and you want to encourage that ahead of time. So absolutely. Sometimes that bucket has a big fat zero in it, but it's still a conversation you have to ensure that is what they want.
Great. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up there. Make sure you're thinking about, in your own financial plan, that you're not one of the ones with the problem where you are working hard and you're making sure that you're making prudent decisions, but you're also thinking about how you're going to allocate that capital over time so you can reflect on your deathbed and go, that was one hell of a journey. Ben, thank you very much for joining us. Please make sure to subscribe on YouTube, give us a review on Apple and Spotify, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers.